I think that today what clearly was felt in our discussion and in the debate with the college was that it's a very important moment. And it's not a very important moment just for the European Union's trade policy, but for our broader economic future. The EU-Mercosur partnership agreement alongside the modernized EU-Mexico global agreement are not just trade agreements. They are strategic instruments that will help shape Europe's role in the global economy for the decades to come. And I think the truth is also vice versa. So if you've been asking about what is the message we are sending to our Latin American partners, I met yesterday with ambassadors of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Mexico. I had a long conversation with Mexican ambassador, and we all agree that today it's a festive moment. It's a festive event, because what we should clearly celebrate is that if it comes to EU-Mercosur agreement, that we are creating the world's largest free trade area, linking over 700 million consumers across 2 continents. It offers first-mover advantages to EU companies in the region, still largely protected by high tariffs. And just let me give you a few numbers, a few examples. Today, the bilateral trade is worth 112 billion euros. Already now, more than 30,000 European SMEs exports to the Mercosur countries. And what I would like to underscore here is the fact that despite of all the developments over the last decade, the EU is the largest investor there, with investments totaling more than 384 billion euros. So what would happen now? And again, I think it's very important to underline the text of this deal. However, we expect savings of over 4 billion euros per year in customs duties for our exporters. EU exports are projected to rise by 39%, amounting to some 50 billion euros, and overall a project GDP gain of 77.6 billion euros for the EU by 2040. What we very much appreciate is that from automotive to machinery to wine, chocolate, olive oil, the EU products will gain privileged access to the new market because tariffs as high as 35% will be eliminated or reduced, while we are also securing better access to the critical minerals. Moreover, we are strengthening the protection of European heritage. The agreement will safeguard 344 EU geographical indications, making it one of the most ambitious deals ever for the protection of European food and drink names abroad. And yes, we know that there are concerns, especially from our farmers, and I want to assure everyone that we have heard them, that this is actually new Mercosur agreement, because we've been listening very, very closely to everyone who wanted to improve it. We've been working very hard with our esteemed and treasured partners from Latin America, as well as with our member states, with our associations, with our farmer representatives, just to make sure that the deal is right and the deal is good for the economies of both Mercosur countries and the European Union. Therefore, we negotiated calibrated quotas, gradual market opening, and also we introduced strong safeguards. And we also went even further than usual, because we just want to be 100% sure that we get it right. And therefore, should the market disruption occur, the proposed 6.3 billion euros of a unity safety net under the next multiannual financial framework stands ready to support the agricultural sector. In addition, the Commission is proposing to supplement the agreement with a legal act to operationalise the bilateral safeguard mechanism in our agreement with Mercosur. We are not reopening the text of the agreement. This is the unilateral instrument that will set out in detail how it intends to activate the safeguard mechanism if necessary. So we will work on this basis with Member States to address their specific concerns in the context of the ratification process. If you allow me to turn now to the conclusion of the Modernized EU-Mexico Global Agreement, these two represent a major leap forward. And I'm very thankful to our Mexican partners for extending the friendship, for enlarging our partnership, and for moving into this next stage of even closer economic cooperation between the European Union and Mexico. As I'm sure many of you know, Mexico is already our second largest trading partner in Latin America, and this modernization was simply necessary. It was essential not only for economic growth, but also for strategic resilience. So we are securing better access to critical raw materials, opening up opportunities in public procurement and digital services, and eliminating nearly all tariffs on agri-food exports, a key advantage as Mexico is net importer of agricultural products from the EU. With 567 EU geographical indications protected and 100 million euros in annual agri-food tariffs to be removed, this agreement also brings tangible benefits to our rural economies. All in all, in today's uncertain geopolitical climate, diversifying our supply chains and deepening partnerships with trusted allies, partners and friends is not a luxury. It is a necessity. These agreements will anchor the EU's economic presence in Latin America, a presence that has been in decline. They will boost our competitiveness and contribute to a more stable and predictable global trade environment. So once again, this is much more than just about the numbers. The EU's extensive network of free trade agreements, the largest in the world, is a strategic asset for maintaining our global economic edge. That is why we continue to push forward on other key agreements, like with United Arab Emirates, with India, Indonesia, and Malaysia. I intend to travel to India later this month, and also the visits to Indonesia, Malaysia and Vietnam are planned because we feel that we can make advancement and clearly progress in be it our negotiations or, in the case of Vietnam, implementation of our 5-year-old agreement. If you allow me to conclude with another critical point. The last week we took an important step in implementing the EU-US joint statement of August 21. As outlined in that statement, this was necessary to secure the reduction of tariffs on cars and car parts to 15% effective as of August 1st, something that directly impacts the global competitiveness of our automotive industry. In addition, it was necessary to secure the carve-outs on generic pharmaceuticals, active ingredients, natural resources and chemical precursors effective from the September 1st. And this is just the first step. We will continue engaging with the US to obtain further exemptions. Despite some commentary to the contrary, the EU-US agreement is the only responsible way forward. A trade and the political escalation would have served no one except our global strategic rivals. Is that the outcome we want? The deal safeguards the immense scale of transatlantic trade, which accounts for some 20% of our total exports, driven by real companies, including thousands of SMEs, and supporting nearly 5 million European jobs. These jobs are not and should not be negotiable, And when we are discussing politics, we should also have people in mind, their jobs, their well-being, and their future. And this is important for all our deliberations because in the end, this is what the trade looks like. We are talking about businesses, we are talking about jobs, we look at consumers, and we look at competitiveness, all tied together. Thank you.